1998. Junya Ota, better known as Zune, releases the game Touhou Gensokyo, Lotus Land Story on the PC 98. Third stage, the boundary between the real world and the fantasy world. Stage theme, Bad Apple. This unassuming little theme is where the entire phenomenon began. Simple, functional, and immediately overwritten by the stage boss, fading into perdition crisis as soon as Ellie appears. The next significant step was the addition of lyrics. 2007, May 20th, the album Love Light by Alstromere Records released at the 4th Reitaisai, a Touhou-only convention. Second song, arrangement by Masayoshi Minoshima, with lyrics written by Haruka and sung by Nomiko. Vocal track, Bad Apple. This arrangement is where the meaning behind Bad Apple became established, setting the stage lyrically as a conflict between bright and dark, struggling between moving on from a foul but comfortable status quo to an unknown and terrifying future. The instrumentation also takes a turn into a more electronic and rock-inspired direction, with distorted guitars and sampled drums in comparison to the chiptune original. Such a fantastic arrangement attracted attention, and on June 8th, 2008, user Nico created a very rough storyboard for a music video of the song, establishing which characters would appear in order, generally what they'd be doing, and most importantly, inspiring a host of animators to create their own realizations of the storyboard. But one specific rendition would go on to become well known, and reach far beyond Nico in the Touhou community. Finally, on October 26, 2009, a channel known by the name Anira released what will become the definitive Bad Apple music video. Touhou, Bad Apple, PV Shadow. As of writing, this is the most viewed video in Nico, and on YouTube it has around 125 million views. The shadow art version takes the lyrics more literally, using only black and white throughout the entire animation. Anira takes advantage of this limitation to create a truly iconic effect throughout the video, smoothly transitioning by morphing characters, made natural by the monochromatic coloration. An unintentional side effect of this choice, almost anything that can display two colors can be used to recreate the shadow art. The amount of different versions is staggering, and the creativity is admirable, using mediums that no one else would have considered or even changing out the characters for other franchises. Remixing so far beyond the original, while still remaining recognizable. This effect has, in turn, caused Bad Apple to become separate from Touhou itself. Although obviously still based on the original, the connection has become tenuous at best, and viewers of these spin-offs rarely know about the connection to the original series. Creatives will see the Bad Apple spin-offs and get inspired to do something similar, without knowing what they are manipulating. In the end, viewers and creators alike only have a vague awareness of Touhou. That may not be wholly bad, however. More people being aware of Touhou is not, as of now, a bad thing. While this niche little series had its time in the sun during the mid-2000s, currently, the internet zeitgeist has mostly forgotten about Touhou, sans this one specific video. So, what makes up the original video? What components have been brought together to create this unique phenomenon? There has to be something special in there, otherwise would so many people have been inspired to create derivative works? And how do these build together? The video and music seem perfectly unified, but the lyrics betray a story fraught with anxiety and terror, while the video displays a free-flowing appreciation for the Touhou franchise, with a tightly controlled style allowing for a plethora of beautiful transitions. Looking further into all these different elements lets us find a new love for a video that secretly speaks to all who are stuck in a dangerous, yet comforting quagmire. Let's begin with an analysis of the techniques used across the different iterations of the song, starting with a look at the music, both the Lotus Land story version and the Nomiko version. Then we move on to the shadow art video, looking at the visual stylization and how it contributes to the themes of the song. After that, we finally finish off with a look at the textual themes and ideas present in the work. After laying that groundwork, we can combine their pieces into one cohesive analysis. I should explain that while I know some music theory, I'm still actively learning and should not be taken as authority on the subject. In fact, I considered skipping over this part of the analysis in lieu of any confidence, but analysis of a song without considering the music would be incomplete. I'll be skipping over some parts of the original PC98 version, focusing on what's relevant to the future versions of the song. The following is to the best of my abilities. PC98 era Bad Apple begins with a melodic vamp, jumping between E-flat and B-flat with a continuous climb below it. The usage of the fifth note of the scale, B-flat, provides a point of stability while moving between the different intervals. Returning to the stable note provides a harmonic motion through various intervals. This is then contrasted with the eighth note rhythm, giving a jaunty and bouncy feel that contrasts the instability in the intervals. The actual notes on the scale take on different roles, however. Ignoring the repeating B-flat to simplify the motion, we have the tonic, and the fourth, third, and second, descending the minor scale. We rise quickly at the beginning, only for this excitement to be tempered as we slowly return to E-flat. As it repeats over and over, the rising motion gets tuned out and B-flat takes over the harmonic feeling. This bass line continues on as more elements get added. Next up is a sonically sharp, repeating perfect fourth stab on the offbeat, with a complicated sounding piano accompaniment soon joining. The progression seems to be an arpeggio up and down the minor scale, which ends up giving this trillish, dazzling effect. Hearing these notes gives me a similar feeling like falling sand, or the audio equivalent of seeing flashing, waving sequins. The individual components are hard to follow, but the overall effect is clear. The bass line now forms the harmony, with fifths outlining a flat 6, flat 7, 1 chord progression, without the characteristic middle note. This implied chord progression is used frequently in later Toho games, and is a characteristic feature of Zoon's music. Finally, the A section of the main melody appears alongside this new bassline harmony, starting with an arpeggio up the minor scale to the fifth, holding it there, then moving on to the 8th, 7th, and back down against the 5th, 1st, and arpeggio up and down the minor key. The melody is fairly adventurous, going across the entire scale except for the 5th, trailing across the minor pentatonic with an added major 2nd. That F note smooths out what would otherwise be a fairly large leap for the melody, while adding a bit of instability and color. If we took it out and went straight to the 3rd, we'd lose out on that melodic interest, while also making our contour fairly sharp. The B section of the melody is shorter and acts as a bridge to either continue the current harmonic progression or lead to the end of the harmony. This melody doesn't move far from the F note, providing a center to rotate around, allowing for the harmony to develop while staying in the same place melodically. We also modally shift to Dorian flat 2, a mode of the harmonic minor scale, closer to Phrygian than Dorian, making the section dark, but also somewhat adventurous. A little bit jaunty with those bouncy 8th notes. Moving a bit further ahead, we have a key change to G minor. I don't have much to say about this section besides that it's a direct modulation up a major 3rd, and this section is used as a bridge and finale in the Nomiko version. That version begins with a simple drum beat. A crash cymbal immediately opens us up, disappearing until Marissa catches the apple, whereupon electronic effects are added to spread and fade the sustained sound of the cymbal. In between is a fairly standard drum beat with the occasional 16th bass hits, adding a feeling of surprise and urgency to the beat. As the song continues, the beat replaces the 16th on the bass for 8ths, and uses the crash every 4 repeats. During some bridges, the bass and crash will sync up at a very explosive sound, emphasizing points where the melody may start getting stale and adding energy where otherwise we'd start losing interest. That melody itself has had little change, primarily being sung by Nomiko with lyrics that will be discussed later. The bass line, which previously played the flat 6 flat 7 1 outline, has been replaced by a distorted guitar playing power chords as the harmony, hanging twice as long on the final dyad. Another, less distorted and barely audible guitar joins the dazzle piano from the original, adding texture and accompaniment to the low and mid ranges, most easily heard during the intro and outro. Further, a small melodic section has been added to increase tension by climbing the minor scale, starting on F and ending on the 5th, smoothly leading into the next melody, heard most clearly in the So Re Da Ke lyric here with Flandre. There are also a few sound effects throughout, like this strange, distorted whistle-ish sound. It kinda sounds like a pitched up, distorted guitar, which is why it doesn't really stand out unless you're looking for oddities. However, I'm not really sure what this sound is exactly. The same sound is used without any change throughout the song, which leads me to believe it's a sample just of something that is pitched, or was pitched after running the original sound through various filters. The other major effect is this sort of winding down sound, which gets used as the end of some measures. Closest thing I can think of is the shrink ray sound effect from some B-tier vintage sci-fi order movie, but no specific examples come to mind. There are two sections that mirror the G minor key change from the original song, using them as transition sections into either the non-harmonic bridge or the finale of the song. These serve mainly as breaks from the fairly repetitive melody, and allows Nobuko to further develop the lyrical theme while keeping with the original melody. In the second section, however, lyrics are sung into a breakdown. This final breakdown in the Nobuko version modifies the key change, so instead of creating a burst of energy for the end, the section feels more like winding down, allowing a kind of release, not peace, but release, into a shockingly light riff for the outro, which simply cuts out entirely to end off the song. Overall, the Nobuko instrumental is far more shock and awe than the original, retaining an electronic edge while adding traditional rock elements. The song feels almost oppressive in a punk or metal sense, sonically dominating the ear. But everything ends, and Bad Apple slowly loses its grip before disappearing entirely. This quality is contrasted in the famous music video. The most important stylization of the Anira music video is the shadow art. A good 99% of color in this video is either black or white, with only a tiny amount of gray showing from cast shadows and bright objects. That is, the only pixels that aren't pure black or pure white exist during strictly necessary moments. Everything, every other visual effect flows from this choice. That choice does force a problem though. If minute details like characters' faces can't be seen, you need to focus on general shape and movement. You could, if you wanted to, use this as a stylistic shortcut with simplified 3D models and stiffer animation, focusing less on details. The audience would have less to focus on, and the rougher animation could be covered up by this choice. Instead, Anira used detailed models. If you're unskilled in 3D animation, getting the characters to move naturally with the focus the audience will have on their outlines would be difficult, and someone who's inexperienced in animation may tempt themselves to use this choice to keep stiffer keyframes. But Anira was no slouch. In the opening, Reimu cleanly bounces back and forth to the beat of the drums, her dress and hair flowing smoothly, almost hypnotically. Aya Shamemaru, when readying to toss her pen, straightens her back ever so slightly, causing her wings to flex and sway minutely. Not all of them are done perfectly. For example, PC98 Raymond and Marissa's hair are both a little stiff when they turn their heads and move their arms. But the fact I'm mentioning such a nitpick should reify how the rest of the video contains as much love and care as is possible. The animator took incredible time and effort into making sure every small movement looked natural, allowing the audience to appreciate the smooth transitions. But those black and white transitions cause another unique problem: a lack of depth perception. Our eyes, generally speaking for this discussion, find depth in three ways: shadows, occultation, and perspective. Shadows are handled strangely, since the strict black and white color scheme needs to be broken for monochrome shadows, along with two exceptions which specifically do not cast shadows on the characters in the scene. In some cases, we are given a high-angle view, such as Sanai's scene, where she does cast a shadow, causing her to seem more grounded by comparison. But these high angles are an exception, and most scenes do not show enough of the characters to see a cast shadow, and some that do, still have no shadow, such as Patchouli. For the record, almost all characters with their full body in the scene have a gray shadow. The asthmatic wizard is an outlier. Shadows, however, are just one way to find depth in a scene. Perspective, instead, is found by comparing parallel lines and watching for convergence in the distance. Since parallel lines by definition do not converge, but they seem to do so when venturing towards a point at infinity. While not impossible in black and white, Anira specifically avoided detailed scenes where parallel lines would become obvious. The only scene with any inkling of detailed ground is Komachi's scene, where her boat leaves a wake implying water exists beneath her, while everyone else just stands above a void, occasionally casting a shadow to imply a floor. Everything becomes very floaty, disconnected from any implied backgrounds as a result. So how come we can still figure out what's in front or in back? There's another fourth method of depth perception I didn't bring up until now: motion, both in terms of parallax and optical expansion. These, combined with occultation, are the critical methods used to find relative depth in the entire video. Something must move, and ideally move in front of or behind something else in order to establish this relative depth. And as a result, Anira has very fine control over our depth perception. In some cases, they allow the background to become equal in depth to the foreground, leaving a flat feeling to the image, most easily noticeable with Eiki Shiki in the vertical split. The boundaries between her and background intentionally broken. In other cases, we are shown extra background detail. With Yuyuko and her flower petals, the camera movement is only as sharp and forceful due to the background context. Without the Saigo Ayakashi tree and petals, we'd certainly get some of the same effect from the camera motion, but it'd be hard to really find any grounding, and our eyes would have difficulty associating the sudden motion with an absolute motion, ambiguous between us moving towards Yuyuko and Yuyuko moving towards us. But, due to the background, we have a better frame of reference, and can determine the camera is moving towards her. Motion in general is given special emphasis thanks to this black and white scheme. At the beginning, we don't want the viewer to focus on spinning around Reimu, but do want to go from a front view to a profile view, so we can clearly see the apple nearly being bitten. Thankfully, we don't have any point of reference besides Reimu, and we don't have any easily catchable details on her, so we can just spin the surrounding camera, creating a smooth, almost imperceptible change in perspective, despite the absolute change being a 90-degree rotation. Genuinely, I didn't really process the rotation's existence until I was meticulously inspecting details for this video. A counterexample can be found near the end of the video, when Yuka closes her umbrella and points it towards something off-screen. Around her are raining flower petals, a central element of Yuka's character, being a yokai whose motivations involve watching the flowers bloom in Phantasmagoria Flower View. Indeed, there are plenty of examples of Anira using the animation to characterize everyone, alongside taking every opportunity to use the black-white coloration to the fullest extent. I wish I could go further into how each of these transitions relate, or do not relate, to the character they embody, but that's not the point of the video. If you'd be interested in a companion video going further into the characters and their characterization, let me know in the comments. I do think there's some really fun connections in there, but it's not so much analysis as tabulation, or explanation and declaration. Hopefully, I've illustrated the sheer effort and dedication that Anira put into creating the music video. Every transition and effect carefully chosen to build on top of the song, creating an iconic and memorable whole. There are two primary readings of the lyrics we shall discuss. The derealization interpretation, closely related to depression, and my own interpretation, that being the fear of losing the self. This second personal interpretation is one that hit me particularly hard. The lyrics have almost screamed out sentiments I carried for years. Yet online, many others find distinct meaning in the lyrics separate from my own. That's no black mark, either to them or to the music video. Instead, it's a sign of great artistry. Before we can analyze the lyrics, we must have the lyrics. Obviously, of course, but we have a problem. The originals are in Japanese. I am far from conversational in Japanese, and can barely read hiragana, let alone kanji. I'll be attempting to be as accurate as possible to the original, using multiple translations as reference, along with translator notes where possible, but please keep in mind going forward that I could be wrong with the literal meaning of the lyrics, and will be attempting to focus more on the poetic side. The primary source I'll be relying on is the Toho Wiki, with references to Pino and Jellycat's translations on Lyrics Translate. If any native or fluent speakers take issue with the English translation in this video, please keep in mind my sources. Two separate themes jump out in the song: a disconnection from ourselves and others, and an inability to move on from the current moment, with a recurring emphasis on turning black and white. Understanding the disconnection requires understanding a specific term in the original Japanese, kokoro. The most common translation in English is heart, both the organ and the poetic idea of the seat of emotions and sensibilities, which is related but not wholly accurate in all cases. The word is closer to meaning the core of the self, rather than any one thing, collating the ideas of the mind, heart, thoughts, and soul. This translation seems to match the intent of the song. We watch our core disappear, our thoughts not our own, our mind disconnected from our body and gone alien. I can't even see the heart that's leaving me, didn't you know? Is there a future for someone like me? Will I exist in a world like this? In this state? Do we have any purpose or reason to live? Why bother when we may not even have a future as ourself? The state has no end or beginning, but is wrapped in apathy. Even in the midst of flowing time, I feel languid. The first line of the song immediately contrasts between time that flows externally and a seemingly existential languidity. Take a second to imagine what someone experiencing the lyrics of Bad Apple would be like, from their perspective. Consumed by listlessness, the self is gone, flowing through life as if a river is dragging them along, with no attempts to direct themselves or escape. Life is viewed through a screen, as if watching a film instead of directly in control. They still have awareness of this situation, but that doesn't matter. My heart just won't pay attention. That sentiment is almost precisely derealization. The feeling of being outside one's body, feeling as if one is in a dream, disconnected from the people we care about, and thoughts of time being unreal. The point of view character in Bad Apple is not literally disconnected, but instead may be suffering from depersonalization derealization disorder, resulting in their inward focus on themselves, unmoored from the reality around them. That lethargy is our viewport into a strongly related theme, reinforcing the lack of desire to move on from this derealized state. A deep depression which saps any motivation to change. I can't even get myself to move. I continue to be washed down the cracks of time. I don't know anything about what's around me. I'm just me and nothing more. We find a recurring emphasis on black and white, a theme which becomes the central tension of the entire song. At first, it may seem obvious that black is depression and white is happiness, but such a simple reading misses the deeper issue. White is out of reach and maybe entirely unrealistic, and instead, avoiding turning black becomes the focus. If I move myself away, if I change everything, I'll turn it all black. If someone like me can change, if I can change, will I turn white? If I can move, if I can change everything, I'll turn it all black. If I grieve, can my heart turn white? If I can open my heavy eyelids, if I break everything, then turn black. Originally, I had interpreted the black and white dichotomy not as value judgments, but as distinct phases of being, and the transition between the two and the fear of doing so was the main point of contention. The value judgments, being the obvious interpretation, caused me to look for a different one, but ultimately, after reviewing the lyrics and many different translations, this interpretation doesn't hold up. Until I myself can read Japanese easily, I'm not comfortable with claiming this as an arguable analysis. Instead, the lyrics point to white as being a positive, good state of being, and black being a negative state of being. I'll ignore the socio-political implications here, as they're irrelevant to the rest of this discussion. Light and dark themselves have commonly been used as synonyms for these concepts, and I'll argue these words are closer to the intention, rather than as literal colors, both carrying with them a whole host of symbolism and meaning. The original uses the words shiro and kuro, which again literally translate as white and black, but also as innocent and guilty respectively, according to gshow.org. Plenty of other lines point to a more complex view on these words, such as, if I wanted to tell you what kind of person I am, the word I'd use would be roku denashi, translating as good for nothing, but also reprobate and bum. In context, roku denashi is used to expand on kuro, ending a line in the same way and strongly stressing the phrase. To be clear with the terminology in the lyrics, I will use the light as a translation for shiro and dark as a translation for kuro. These shorthands seem to align with the intended meanings, and are literally close enough in color to be useful for this analysis. In each line, the only reference to light and dark is as a dichotomy between the two, and the jump between them. We can only notice the change as being one or the other, black and white inherently. No other options are possible. We will always fade to white or to black. There is no gray area, no other possibilities. Whoever this point of view character is, they are stuck inside this dichotomy, as in, whoever is plagued with these thoughts will not abandon this binary framework. Attempting to understand why leads us back to the internal struggle, and likely is not intended to have a direct answer. We can determine various aspects of the struggle to start mapping out a greater picture. We can see already an aversion to changing the self, a fear of becoming someone else, and an apathy to this state. Each reference to color in the text is also accompanied by mention of change. If I can change, will I turn white? And if I change everything, I'll turn it all black. Both reference change directly, and the hesitation from that transformation, as well as an inherent ambiguity in turning white. Turning light, being seen as positive here, is something that may happen, while turning dark instead is less ambiguous. If will versus if then. Both have an uncertainty, but the more positive option is further out of reach, and the negative option seems closer. The point of view character feels they are closer to losing themselves or becoming worse, rather than becoming something better. Fading to light is less probable than fading to dark, either of which may happen if they decide to change. Thus, they resist, to avoid the potential of falling even deeper, and as a result, prevent the possibility of escape. Without that willingness to change, another contribution is made to the melancholy. Our point of view character also agonizes further from that fear. If I move, I'll destroy everything. I'll destroy everything. By the thought of becoming something new by moving, we simultaneously believe we cannot become something better. So the thought becomes self-destructive, and again, we refuse to change. Yet, something has to happen. Time does not wait, but continues to flow. To end off the lyrics, we are left with, if I move, I'll destroy everything. I'll destroy everything. If I grieve, can my heart turn white? I still don't know about you, about myself, about everything. If I can open my heavy eyelids, if I break everything, then turn black. One last lament. One last time we wonder if returning to white is possible. Opening the eyelids to wake up and rise from the present state, and truly come to terms with this harsh reality. Despite the confusion and bewilderment, despite the possibility of breaking and losing something forever, we accept, either without hope of improvement, or instead with the possibility of moving on. Either way, there is no more uncertainty. We no longer worry about what will happen, but accept what may come, even if dark, and the struggle of Bad Apple is resolved. If it hasn't become obvious by now, I absolutely adore this music video. Each individual piece is well crafted and unique, joined together to create a truly cohesive piece of art. The original PC98 version, while perfectly fine, is also somewhat forgettable in the greater context of Toho music. Nobuko's remix created a story based on merely the name and brought a more rock and electronic instrumentation. Finally, Anira's animation gave a striking visual identity rooted deep into Toho itself, alongside a distinct color scheme, easily recognizable due to the cultural phenomenon surrounding Bad Apple. The sum total of these components may now be analyzed as one cohesive whole. I'm sure many of you were jumping at the gills to point out the connection between turning black/white and the monochromatic nature of the music video. Undoubtedly, that lyrical theme is what drove Anira to choose the iconic coloration, not only giving the video unique identity, but also giving a unique connection to the themes of the remix. The video also makes efforts to line up with the lyrics more directly, occasionally covering the screen in the specified color to create a resonant effect, painted white during the transition to the Prism River Sisters, and painted black during the Nitori to Yuka transition. Further, the previously mentioned floatiness, the lack of grounding in the music video, is also sourced from the textual reading, a loss of the self. Although seemingly a tenuous connection, I feel the lyrics had a strong influence on the design of each scene and contributed to the sparseness of detail. This sparseness is especially noticeable when comparing to other renditions of Bad Apple at the time, which typically went for an approach with detailed scenes. Although simpler to create, few details in scenes is an uncommon choice and, if not intentional, definitely adds to the feeling engendered by the lyrics and is enabled by the black and white color scheme. Simply listening to the Nomiko version by itself would give the impression of an ungrounded and listless individual. Accenting that feeling, the music video contains so little detail that only characters are shown, and each scene morphs into the next cleanly, with the entire video being contiguous, unable to tell where one scene ends and another begins. I don't know anything about what's around me. I'm just me and no more. Am I dreaming or seeing nothing? We are ungrounded both auditorially and visually. Since we also have our depth perception entirely controlled by Anira, we cannot tell the sizes or real distances of anyone in the video. And as everything shifts and morphs, we lose track of our original position and points of reference. Unrealistic thoughts about distance and the size and shape of objects. That almost implies the literal point of view of the camera is the one experiencing depersonalization derealization disorder, but I more think Anira intended the morphing we see as a side effect. That morphing is for emphasizing the feeling in the lyrics, rather than creating a camera character. The entire video feels more metaphorical than literal, attempting to elicit a feeling rather than show a specific story. Each morph to a different scene allows for a new action with new characters, and Anira has taken efforts to line up the events of the music video with specific moments of the song. Some measures begin with a crash symbol, the extra emphasis breaking up certain rhythmic sections, but beginning new scenes or revealing new characters during these crashes adds some fun consonance between the audio and visual medium. Refocusing on Yuyuko during the flower petal scene elicits a crash when the camera finishes movement. In Yukari's scene, Yukari folds her fan to reveal Tenchi, crashing exactly when Tenchi is fully shown. Seeing that Tenchi still exists is a real crash moment. Another detail which may be missed is the key change occurring right as we get to the PC-98 characters. Right as the water bubbles turn to flower petals, the key changes and brings Yuka Kazumi into focus, who appears in Windows Toho but originates in PC-98. Following her is Ellie, exclusive to PC-98, then the designs of Reimu and Marissa from the same era. And when the song finishes with rhythmic guitar chords on the Taijitu, we switch back to Reimu and Marissa's modern designs, with Reimu catching the apple from the beginning, implying a loop. For the average viewer, this sequence just seems to be the end of the song, but for those who know a bit more about Toho, another interpretation can be found. Bringing out the PC-98 characters exactly when we reach the finale implies a return to the very beginning, the before times. Our point of view character may be reflecting on earlier times, which only partially existed, imperfect memories reconstructed maybe long after the struggle has finished. Alternatively, this moment is the very end, succumbing to the struggle, only momentarily considering the foregone present and future. The finale is made more ambiguous in the music video. Instead of the resolution to black, we are reminded of the yin-yang nature of reality. Black and white and black. We do end with the screen becoming entirely black, but the modern Reimu and Marissa appear, reminding us of the possibility of the future. While the original Nomiko version has resolution, it accepts the more negative possibility, but the Anira animation seemingly reinterprets that ending, seeing the resolution as positive no matter what, as the point of view is no longer stuck and can begin recovering into the future. The black and white dichotomy is broken, And as a Picardy Third enjoyer, I appreciate ending the song on a lighter, brighter theme, even if this interpretation is not immediately obvious, has a darker and equally valid interpretation, and requires looking deeper inside with some admittedly large leaps in logic. A combination of floatiness, disconnection, black and white, the whole is more than the simple sum of its parts. Bad Apple is a rumination on rumination, a look into aggression turning inward and becoming apathy. With one last grand statement, Bad Apple claims that taking the risk of failure is greater than the certainty of stagnation. Either way, the self is lost, instantly or piecemeal, but accepting that loss is vital for moving on. I've been listening to this song for a very, very long time. Certainly over half my life has had this song occasionally in the background, shaping me subtly. My first introduction to themes in music, in fact. The concept that you had to analyze the lyrics closely and understand the feeling they elicit, previously only said as a matter of fact in the classrooms, was now put into practice for the first time. I owe both my eventual introduction to Toho, along with a drive to understand the deeper meaning in everything, to this very song. Toho itself has become a kind of guide to learning the deeper aspects of music, beyond my previous method of, just place notes on the DAW and see what happens. Of course I had a previous interest, but the complexities hidden within Zoon's music gave me a window and a motive into the parts of music previously hidden from me. I've begun to compose in sheet music, which previously seemed intimidating. I've began playing around with genre conventions and instruments. I've started learning piano on my own time, and I joined a college choir. Now, I have the tools to understand why music does what it does, or at least with a greater understanding than before. So, as my introduction to Toho, a game series I enjoy beyond just the music, Bad Apple holds a special place. Without this music video, I likely wouldn't have touched the series, or would have gotten into it far later, and my renewed interest in music may have been a fleeting love. My interest in the music video was initially visceral. Being literally 10 years old, I had an inkling of the intent behind the lyrics, but I didn't have the experience or tools to really dig deep into the song, further complicated thanks to the language barrier. Later on, when I discovered the Jubiphonic cover using the Pat McCarthy translation, I finally received lyrics I could directly understand without having to read instead, right around the time I became a teenager. The seemingly edgy lyrics about agony and melancholy, especially in the English version, spoke to me in a very surface-level manner. Then, I revisit the song after having aged some, meet more people, learned about more experiences in the world, and I reconsider the growing interpretation of simple edginess. Looking into the translations once again, looking into a few separate translations and comparing, looking to understand it more wholly than the mere glimpses from before. Something about the holistic experience of reading them concurrently, I saw just a little bit more, came to appreciate the song in a different way, after having felt that fear, that disconnect, that ennui. Have you ever been afraid of asking why you don't want to do something? Not in a laziness sense, but in the anxiety sense. In the sense of a paralysis in the mind, a mental block stopping you from taking that path. I felt that a lot at one point. That feeling is a result of some fear, as if you were to walk down that path, you would lose yourself forever, become someone unrecognizable. Allowing yourself to become someone different is an odd proposition. Yourself becomes distorted from your current perspective, and what you currently value may change. That's a scary idea. How can we preserve ourselves in the face of that? But ultimately, we change no matter what. Our experiences in life build constantly, and trying to redo the same thing is impossible. You can never cross the same river twice, because it's not the same river, and you aren't the same person. The passage of time ensures we never stand still. This idea of being forced to change whether or not we want to do so, and the anxiety of that happening is what drives my love of Bad Apple. Having experienced that very process, and completing it despite believing I'd be there forever, gave the song a brand new life to me. And the music video ending on a lighter note, of the Taijitsu reminding us that in every struggle there is renewal, further emphasizes an inner hope to rise out of that state of ennui. And so, those two interpretations spoke to me. Similarly needing to become someone new, yet being stuck in a fearful quagmire, not knowing if I would fall into something unrecognizable. That recognition, something I haven't seen others discuss, let me further appreciate a song that has traveled with me, a song that has grown alongside me. We've seen that Anira, whoever they are, put thought in how the shadow art would affect the composition and cinematic technique for the animation. Indeed, the music video has become incredibly popular and inspired many animations attempting to recreate this exact series of transitions and emotions with their own series of favorite characters. But that's the problem. It's this near exact sequence of characters. This near perfectly recreated sequence of transitions. I've yet to see another video in this style that isn't just trying to blatantly and openly copy Bad Apple with the characters changed. When something is this well done, there has to be imitators looking to utilize the same technique. And they certainly exist, but rarely so obviously the way Bad Apple's cultural lineage ties directly back to the original. There's no necessary connection between Toho and a black and white color scheme, for example. Consider the Souls-like. Dark Souls famously brought tough but fair back into near mainstream appeal, with punishing boss design and an emphasis on a characteristic style of combat. The following imitators, under the explicit or implicit flag of Souls-like, took clear inspiration from Dark Souls and the following games by the studio. But they took the concept in different directions, diverging from the formula to create unique and beloved takes on the genre. Lies of P, Dead Cells, Salt and Sanctuary, Code Vein, even Claire Obscure Expedition 33, all of these are distinct and cater to different audiences. The Bad Apple issue I'm trying to make clear is as if every Souls-like kept rigidly to the design of Dark Souls 1. Only 4 rolling directions when locked on, medieval fantasy, sword and sorcery, obscure story, slow and kinda clunky movements. Imagine a Lords of the Fallen 2014 shaped boot crushing a human face for 1,000 years. The original developers of Dark Souls themselves iterated most of all, focusing on different aspects of the original. Dark Souls 3 is faster paced. Sekiro requires deflections, which leads to a distinct rhythm. Bloodborne is even faster paced. Elden Ring goes open world and adds yet another rhythm to combat, thanks to a different design philosophy and boss attacks. Again, imagine if From Software created Dark Souls 1, and then created Dark Souls 2! Wouldn't that suck? I joke, of course. It's more like if Bethesda kept re-releasing Skyrim for 10 years, with very little changes, instead of making a new Elder Scrolls or Fallout game. Toho Project, however, is different, and resists the rigid copyright these games fall under. The only reason Alstra Records was allowed to release a remix of Bad Apple is due to Zun's very loose requirements for derivative fan works. Anira's own original animation presumably follows from the same principle. I'm no legal expert, especially not in Japanese law, but Alstra Records may have been entirely within their right to take down the original animation. They didn't, maybe in part due to paying forward Zun's own fan work grace. That grace is partially responsible for the extent Toho and Bad Apple have reached, and Alstra Records themselves have adopted the shadow art animation, cementing it as the official version. All that to say, we still don't have a definitive answer to why no one else has tried to use a black and white color scheme, using the same style for their own unique creative work. Maybe it's too specialized, standing out too hard. Maybe it's too difficult to work with, causing the viewer to focus on form, emphasizing any small problems into glaring headaches. Maybe, and this is something you have to follow me on, Anira did the original so well that anyone trying to use the same effect would simply be retreading old ground. In other words, Anira used the effect so well, explored every possibility, every piece of symbolism, every little effect you could possibly use, with a musical and lyrical context so resonant that no one else got inspired to try the same thing and explore further. Why go into new territory if the map is already drawn? I sincerely hope this isn't the case, as I want to see it developed further, taken to its greatest extent and then even farther. But I'm no visual artist. I couldn't tell you what another possible effect or context could be utilized to really elevate and explore the possibilities beyond Bad Apple. If you know of any, please let me know. I have found nothing that matches the original nor surpasses it. Within Toho, Bad Apple is dominant, but outside Toho, Bad Apple is a weird black and white video to be used in cute tech demos. Bad Apple itself is not truly known as a Toho song. In fact, the average person is far more likely to know about Bad Apple than Toho itself. The music video has evolved far past the original, falling into a category alongside Doom, being played in places you wouldn't expect. If you can display two separate colors, you can play Bad Apple. An innumerable amount of examples exist on the internet, including this Tesla coil display, and the frame-by-frame journey, recognizable as the first of the alternative renditions of the music video. The sheer spread of these renditions has led to a simultaneous perception and knowledge of Bad Apple, while the actual content behind the video is obscure and unknown. Toho might come up as the source, and by no means is intentionally hidden, but does anyone creating these spoofs know or care about Toho? I don't intend this to be a hit piece against them, far from it. I love these renditions. But isn't there something odd with most creators not knowing the source material on which they create their own works? Bad Apple is a cultural phenomenon, disconnected from its origins and evolving far past them. But the origin might as well be disconnected too. The famous music video has a name attached, but that name has only one known work. If you click on Anira's profile on Nico Nico Doga, Bad Apple is the only video. There's something interesting here. One small connection, one tiny glimpse is hidden in the description of the original. I tried to make a shadow play from the original idea. There are multiple parts taken from previous videos. I gave up on the idea of a hot spring because you couldn't tell who was who without the clothes. I hope you found the video enjoyable. Stealth marketing! Let's contribute! With a link to another music video for the game Freedom Wars, titled roughly, Let's Contribute, released in 2014. This connection mystified me for a little while, until after more digging I stumbled across an article from before the release of the Vita title, wherein Toshiyuki Yasui, the game's art department head, claims Anira helped with the Freedom Wars music video, and the two have known each other for a long time. Apparently, Anira and the production staff have been awarded with delicious eels for their contribution to the music video. Even more interesting, a video for a song created by Yasui is mentioned. From before both Bad Apple and Let's Contribute, Hi Ha Haini, Ashes to Ashes, released on March 15th, 2009, contains the credit for video producer as simply Anira-san. Investigating this new video may give another unique perspective on Bad Apple, but their exact role is hard to determine, as the illustrations are credited to an san. My best guess would be Anira put contribution to motion, but I have no way to verify this interpretation. With what we can see, some segments may be animated in 3 dimensions for added flair, mostly blackened cogwheels, providing the visuals to a song poetically describing the decay of the world, seemingly played as Kaido reflects at the end of everything. As it seems, Anira has a preferred lyrical theme. The time span may be the biggest indicator. Hi Ha Haini released only 6 months before the Bad Apple video, meaning Anira may have finished their contribution and then immediately began work on Bad Apple. As far as I can tell, these 2 videos, along with the Freedom Wars promotional, are the only other works of Anira on the internet, and unless anyone has knowledge of others, are the only ones to exist. I suspect Anira may be working under a new name, wanting to distance themselves from their old work. Someone with this immense skill in video production and animation should be well known, but only one of their works is truly recognizable, and is never referenced by Anira's name. But isn't that kind of fitting? Bad Apple, the Nomoko song based around disconnection from the self. Bad Apple, the music video which has been used and brought far beyond Toho. Bad Apple, the song originally made in 1998, forgotten until re-emerging in an entirely new form. Over these nearly 3 decades, this song has been reinvented and reimagined by so many people. Mew Mew's original storyboard and Nomoko's remix kicked off a grand series of events, where most who engage with the culture are no longer aware of its origins. Disconnected, becoming something new forever. Bad Apple has resolved its own themes, in reality, by continuously being reinvented, moving on from the past and evolving forever. And now, a post-video diatribe. Alright, second take of this because the first one was extremely unfocused. Doing this with absolutely no audio treatment, no audio editing. I'm not going to bother with that, so if you think this sounds like terrible, that's why. And if you think it sounds okay, please let me know, because if I have to do less work in the future, that would help make these videos faster. I'd like to give a special thanks to Airbyte VT, Tankshin, Astrolepus, Sticktuber999, and Penbu VT. All those people are people that I talk to on a semi-regular basis, so giving them my own special personal thanks is appreciated. But I'd also like to give a special thanks to Zune, Evan Davis Piano Channel, 8-Bit Music Theory, and 12 Tone for various music-related purposes. You can see why on screen now, I hope. I have a list of convo topics I'd like to go over, hopefully less than 3 minutes. Probably not, though. The Hololive Bad Apple music video, that released while I was just wrapping this up. I think it was about a week ago, actually. I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. Like, I really appreciate that Narissa decided to create her own translation of the lyrics, because while the Pat McCarthy lyrics were really important to me at the time that I found them, I feel like they miss a lot of the more nuances of the original. And I'm not, I can't entirely say for sure if Narissa captured them perfectly, but I will say that I like hers a lot more. And the rest of the video with the other Hololive members was also awesome. But besides that, I finally finished this video. It's taken me 8 months, man. Next video is absolutely going to be shorter than this. Probably, I don't know, the Mahjong video or the Lobotomy Corporation video. Not Limbus Company, Lobotomy Corporation. I will not be playing Limbus Company. I like Lobotomy Corporation way more. But besides all that, please go check out some of the other people who helped me learn music theory, especially Evan Davis Piano Channel, because if you are interested in music theory, like specifically Toho stuff too, check his stuff out. Like, he's the only one who goes deep into the actual harmony and function behind it, and it's just really nice to see his work. All I'm saying, you should absolutely check him out if you're interested. But I would like to say that I just, on occasion, have to reflect on whenever I'm making this video. Back when I was first finding the Akatsuki Records music video, that led me down this path. It must have been maybe a year and a half ago by now. I stared at that thing while I was at work for like 15 seconds, maybe even a full minute, as if part of me knew this was going to be an inflection point in my life, and just wondering if I should take that path, which goes back to the themes of Bad Apple, I suppose. But at this point, I'm pretty far down here, and I'm quite happy to be here. And for all those who have joined me here, thank you for listening, and have a good day.